All right, so I'm now going to invite up our guest of the hour, Miss Denise Hamilton. Could you please walk up? I wish I had walking music for you. Do, 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 da, da. I know. What's your theme song?
I don't know.
Do you have a theme song?
Ooh,
Let's sit.
I'm every woman. The Shaka Khan version.
Shaka Khan.
Shaka Khan.
I'm every
Yes.
woman.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know all of it, so can't quite go there. Also, probably nobody wants to hear me sing the entire Shaka Khan I'm Every Woman song. Okay. Anyway, awesome to have you here. And I am so excited because you have been a supporter of Social Media Breakfast, I think, since like a long, long time. And I really appreciate that. But in the meanwhile, my dear, you have built your brand and your business, your personal brand and your business, and you've made a huge difference in the world with this book, by the way, Indivisible. I've read it. It's amazing. I love this book so much because, and that's why I asked you to come and I had to have you come, is because you are a person that has helped CEOs, has helped average people too, to learn how to get along, which is like amazing, really, if you think about it in the world these days. And right now I wanted to bring her here because right now, if there ever was a temperature, a hot temperature in the world, it's right now. There's a lot going on online, and brands are being attacked, people are being attacked, people are attacking each other. Online has become a little scary. So I wanted to bring you in to help us out and to think about that. So thank you for being here.
I'm so thrilled to be here with you.
Yeah. So I think the last time I was trying to get in touch with you, you were coming back from like TEDx or something. Tell us what you've been up to. Can you tell me what you've been up to?
Oh man.
Hold it close enough.
Yeah, it's been an amazing journey, right? I can now say I'm an international keynote speaker.
Yes. She is.
So I, work with TED, the Aspen Institute, Summit, like all these communities and powerful forces. I would call them forces, right? To think about how we move and what we do and how important we are as humans, as AI kind of threatens or motivates or animates or frees our reality, depending on how you see it. It's going to be more and more interesting to think about what it means to be human. So that is what I do all day. I study the people side of change. And so it's taken me to all kinds of places. I mean, this year alone, I've been to, oh gosh, Nairobi, London, Doha, Dubai, Aspen, Vancouver. Like we're on the road. But when you called, it's really special to be able to do something at home. So I'm thrilled to be here with you today.
Oh my gosh. You give me the chills there because I'm like, you're here. Oh my gosh. Oh. No, I do. And I still remember seeing you out, like sitting out there, like, learning your craft. I remember you just, like living with that and starting your own community and, just pushing your way in and saying, hey, I'm going to do this. And so I really do think we have a lot to learn from her also about brand building and our own brands. Right. So right now I want to just start with something a little bit hard, which is all around this anger that is around us. So some of the things I love about Indivisible is that you talk about not making the other the enemy all the time. So could you talk a little bit about what is maybe required in this moment? Because I think people need to speak their truth, but I don't know. I want you to talk because I don't really know what to do. I'm like every morning I'm like, hey, what do we do?
What do we do? What do you do? Well, one of the reasons I jumped at the opportunity to spend some time with this particular audience today is that I don't know if you realize it, but you went to bed one night as like a social media professional and you woke up a soldier in the army, right? Because you are literally on the front line of the biggest battle in our country right now. You are the keepers of the battle, the keepers of the story in a lot of ways. And so I thought it was a wonderful opportunity to impress upon you the importance of the role and the part that you play as we kind of decide who we're going to be, right? The reality is that outrage is profitable anger makes money, right? Yes, you might love to, watch that great food content and watch that with some kind of interest, but nothing is more sexy and magnetic than somebody saying something absolutely outrageous, right? And so we are changing. Our habits are changing. Our appetites are changing around what we consider entertainment, what we consider appropriate. And so, in a lot of ways, you're at the front line of reshaping and redefining what is okay and what's not okay, right? So your sense of how you interact with the outraged economy is really critically important, which is why I jumped at the chance to be with you here today.
Yeah, and that's why I really wanted you here. One of the things that we've learned, being social media managers and community managers of big brands, healthcare brands and other brands, is that there is a desire to get us to fight with each other. There is, I mean, that is actually at the heart of it. Like, so I've seen, I would call them fake whatever, but the bots and the people, trolls and the people, and there's an entire industry of people that are out there literally trying to get you and I to fight with each other every day, every single day. And so I've seen it happen like firsthand. They throw something in, and then the algorithm then feeds that to people who might feel the same way about that thing. And then the people get outraged by whatever that is. By the way, it can go either way. Yeah. They get outraged by one of those things, and then they're fighting with each other in the threads. It started with a bot or a person that was hired to grab you.
Right. So the rules are different, right? Because the circumstances have changed. So the rules have to change with them. And so I think sometimes we don't even think about that, right? So somebody says something outrageously racist and 800 people send it to me. And I'm like, why are you sending this to me? Can you believe that he said this? And it's like, yeah, you just put money in his pocket. You literally just amplified the very thing that you were trying to diminish, right? So the rules have changed, but we as human beings haven't necessarily changed in terms of how we operate and move. So this idea of having an algorithm that rewards the worst of us, what does that mean for how we're going to interact? And so you get that bot into your comments. What do? Do you delete? Do you respond? Do you, understanding that you are literally fueling the worst part of the discourse. And that's a really important attitudinal shift, because, we value communication, right? I want to hear both sides. And even that, I've had to shift that in my thinking as I've gone through this season, is like, I don't always need to hear both sides. I don't know if there's both sides of children having food, right? Like, but we kind of feel this pressure to kind of manage things in a way that is representative of old rules and old realities. This is not a neutral ground. I think that's the most important thing to understand. This is not a neutral playing ground. This is not a space where we're going to come to this table, you have a position, I have a position, and we're going to discuss it. That's not what's happening.
Well, not in the algorithm. In this room, yes.
Yes.
Do you understand? Like, in this room, yes. So I don't know. I mean, that's one of the things I'm like wondering too, because I'll find myself getting outraged by something or another too. I mean, and I work very hard not to get outraged because that's not my nature, but it is our nature at the very heart to get outraged. So, it's wonderful to be inspired. I'd prefer every day to be inspired. But why is it that anger is the thing that spreads faster?
Well, I think it just triggers an immediate response. Right? It catalyzes a diametric, reaction, a passionate reaction. And so it's become a tool, and we need to understand that it's being used as a tool, right? There are forces, there are people who benefit from us not being in community. Community is extremely powerful. right? And so there are forces that benefit from us being at each other's throats. So what are we doing to kind of, when I find myself, I literally move through the world like I have a knob on my back. And if I feel that knob turned up to 9 or 10, do I have tools and practices to take me down to a 3?
Oh, tell me those tools and practices, please.
Well, first of all, I believe that we need to really understand the importance of stories in our society, right? Stories are incredibly important. They tell us who's the good guy and who's the bad guy, who gets to live happily ever after, who's the hero. They tell us how to live. But one of the problems that we have is a lot of our stories aren't true. Right? They're just not true. If you remember the story of Rapunzel, anybody? Inappropriately long hair, right? Stuck in a tower with no door. She helps the witch get in and out of the tower with her hair. She helps the prince get in and out of the tower with her hair. I was well into my 40s before it ever even occurred to me, girl, it was your own hair. You could have got yourself out the tower. Right. And I want you to think about that. Think about having a story that tells you to wait in the woods. Somebody's going to come along. Somebody's going to help you. Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty. I could go on and on and on. Right. So these stories shape our perceptions and we love them. Even if they're not true, we love them. So anything that's going to touch on a deeply held belief, tradition, and I always say tradition is peer pressure from dead people, right? That if you have these stories that live in your psyche, and somebody, even if it's true, they're trying to present you with a different idea, a different concept, you defend that story, right? Can I give you another one?
Yeah.
Please don't throw anything at me. Can we talk about Beauty and the Beast? Can we talk about it? So let me get this straight. Belle's father is in the dungeon. He is starving. He is freezing. He is sick. He is dying. Belle finally finds him, begs the beast to let him go. The beast says no. Finally, she says, I'll trade my freedom for his freedom. Beast agrees. Doesn't even let her say goodbye to her father. Now, Belle is a prisoner in the castle. One night, he scares her so badly, she runs into the wolf-infested woods to get away from him. Walk me through how they live happily ever after.
Good question.
I want you to think Munchausen, right? I mean, Stockholm syndrome, right? These are the stories. If I play the music right now, you could sing every note. Who could sing I could sing every note of every song, right? So
Yes.
We have messages that are so deeply entrenched in how we see the world, right? And it's really critically important that you find the courage to excavate, pull those stories out, examine them, and make sure if they're true. Is this story true? Can I run a division if I'm 5'2"? Can I be the CEO from a wheelchair? I know the extrovert can be the boss, but can the introvert be the boss? Right? These are stories that drive and direct how we move through the world. So enter social media, unlimited stories, unlimited ideas, unlimited challenge to our deeply held beliefs. And so it's just this cocktail of conflict and challenge. And, I'll just quickly, I'm going to give you another example of how hard your job is. I watched a presentation by Neil deGrasse Tyson, the famous astrophysicist, and he was talking about how language sometimes limits science. Case in point, we use the language that the tide goes in and out. Right? Yeah. Well, that's actually not what happens. What happens is there's two bulges of water on the surface of the earth, and the earth rotates in and out through those bulges of water. Yes. So it's really the earth that goes in and out. It's not the tide, right? Who cares? That's not a big deal, right? Unless you're doing a scientific experiment and you literally have the wrong framing for how you're approaching that challenge. So I heard that speech and I literally, I was obsessed for the next couple of days because I think that's the reality that we're all living in. So let's say I wanted to apply this logic to the concept of sunset. The sun does not set. It is the earth that goes down, right? It's the earth that is moving. So really the right term would be earth set. So let's go on an international campaign to change the concept from sunset to earth set. Who's with me? It wouldn't matter if it was right. I want to say that again. It wouldn't matter if it was right. It wouldn't matter if it was more accurate. It wouldn't matter if it was true. People love their broken stories, their broken language, their broken understanding of things. And so when you come along and you're trying to hold up truth, accuracy, really trying to communicate with clarity, like I need you to understand you're not starting from a neutral position. You're starting from a position of really having profound opposition to any kind of change, even the most amorphous. I mean, just the sunset cruises and the makeup palettes alone that you would have to change, right? So I think this idea that this is, I'm a good person. I'm just going to share the truth. I'm just going to share good, high quality information. Those days are gone. You have to do more. You have to understand the counter narrative, which is why the roles that you all play in your organizations are so important. You are the listening ear. You see the first comments. You see the first resistance. You see the first ideas that are challenging to the information that you're putting out, right? And so the ability to communicate that, capture that, and bubble that up to leadership is essential because you're fighting uphill. It is not flat ground.
No, and I've seen that so many times. It's amazing you're saying that because as social media managers or people that have brands, you would think that you're not in a situation where anything that you do is at all controversial. I'm just saying, you sell ButcherBox, you sell meat, comes to your door. Believe me, there's a lot of people that would not love that. You have a sauce, that you're putting out, whatever it is. You think you're not on the front lines, but you will find yourself on the front lines from time to time. I'm looking at you. I know I shouldn't be, but I've seen you on the front lines. And you're like, why? I just, I'm like running on my treadmill. Like, what in the world would be that problem? So again, we do have moments. And so I'm really like, what do we do how do we keep ourselves sane and like safe so that we respond instead of react?
I think it's really important to make sure that you're fighting fire with water, not with fire, right? Escalation is your enemy. And I think of any organization, any group, and I would say your social media presence in a sense, I think of it as a vessel, right? It's a bowl of the sorts. And it's my job as a leader to keep the bowl clean, pristine, to protect the bowl. People are going to come in and out of the space, but my job is to protect the space. So if you come into the space and your commitment is to throw a pile of garbage in it, I'm not going to support that. I'm going to clear that out as quickly as possible. And to understand that like a little bit of poison is not okay. A little bit of rot, a little bit of trouble is not okay. And to have more of a position of persistent resistance to defiling your vessel and protecting it like that. That's literally how I think about it.
Yeah. And I would think about it as protecting the community that comes there.
Yeah.
So having done this for a number of years now, when you let the algorithms, the bots, the people that are being paid to start discourse, come in and start that stuff. Again, we all should have a place where we can speak our mind. I get that. All about that, all about free speech, right? But on the other hand, you have this situation where you're letting that just flame up and overtake the brand. So, I mean, deleting something is not We do all the time.
I believe in it. I believe in it because it's such a large percentage of it is not real, right? It's not two people having a disagreement or weighing in.
Otherwise, yes.
Right. Otherwise, like we have to figure out how to disagree without destruction. Right. It's a valuable skill, but we need to be very, very clear of the fact that the social media kind of ecosystem is not a real place. There is a large percentage of artifice. And so you can be literally spending your days engaging with things that are not real people with nefarious intentions. And that is that's kind of hard to process if you think of yourself as a fair, open-minded person. Right? Like I invite discourse. I really want to comfortably be able to disagree and have, challenging conversations. I'm not afraid of that. But again, be careful about bringing old rules to new places and spaces. This is a different environment. And you said something so powerful. You said and protecting the communities that come to that space. I believe you have a responsibility to keep the discourse and the conversation around your ecosystem welcoming and accessible, right? The worst thing you could do is make it a hostile, terrible place that nobody wants to come.
I'm actually hurt. I had a friend who used to call it the living room rule. Like, would you allow somebody to say that in your living room? Would you? I mean, or would you, challenge it? Or what would happen? I mean, would you just let, all of the algorithm come into your living room and start, having a fight with each other right in your space? Or would you maybe, say, hey, let's move this outside? So, I mean, we all have spaces. So the thing is there's this whole conversation about First Amendment rights, it's free speech. And so, and I mean, it's ingrained in our Constitution. So how do we manage that? How do we make spaces where people can come to have these conversations? That's why I have you here too, by the way.
I love it. Well, first of all, that speech wasn't free. Somebody paid for it. Somebody paid people to come in and throw a Molotov cocktail into your situation. I cannot stress this enough that I feel like the adversarial structuring and the fact that there's so much money invested in, amplifying conflict for the sake of conflict means that that's a perfect example of using kind of a commonly held person-to-person rule and applying it to an environment that it does not apply to.
Well, I've known this for a long time, but then I saw a picture that absolutely blew my mind. It was of a place, I think it was in China in this case, or somewhere in there, and it had like a wall of telephones, like cell phones, like your cell phone. And they were stuck up on the wall and they were wired in. They were individual accounts that were like putting stuff on, like putting comments out on your stuff. Like,
you mean L3562 2001?
Yeah,
that guy.
So anyway, they're all on the wall and they're all like different phones, like with different SIM cards and everything. So it's coming from a person, not really, but from an account that seems like a person. And they were just like thousands of them stuck on that wall making messages. Look it up. It's on Google. When I saw it, like it's something like a picture is worth 1,000 words or phones in this case. Mm-hmm. A picture is worth 1,000 phones. And I was like, it just struck me like, okay, we're fighting with phones that are stuck on a wall somewhere in a foreign country that are, and by the way, this wall was Biden and this wall was Trump. You know what I'm saying? So the walls, they were in the same room and the same company.
Yeah, like, I
don't know what else to say. I want you guys to know about this, though.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, we're bringing a knife to a gunfight because we are like fairness, disagreement, quality conversation. Like we have all of these values that we sincerely are bringing to a space that does not share them, right? And so I just want us to be a little bit more empowered around the feeling of I want to protect this space that I am in charge of. And that's more okay than you think it is. Now, I agree. I am down for disagreement, right? I am down for feedback. You need to be able to have, people have a space that they can elevate concerns or questions or problems. But when it shifts to something else, right? Again, that phrase I use, disagree without destruction. When it shifts to something else, it's okay to take the necessary measures to keep that vessel safe for quality communication. I don't think quality communication happens accidentally. This is not an accidental space, right? Of sharing ideas and learning from each other. It's cultivated. And so when someone has a profound intention to sabotage that, I want to empower you to not let them do that.
Yeah. And okay, so I'm going to push back a little bit because we're going to have a little disagreement. I'm not disagreement, but the idea of having a bubble though then happens, where you only hear from the people that you agree with all the time and you only hear your point of view. So that's my other concern with this. I mean, having been on the brand side, I totally agree with this because believe me, I do it every day, or we do it every day. And I would just say, what about that though? Are we just putting ourselves into our own little communities, going underground? Also, private communities are popping up everywhere because nobody feels safe to talk in a public community anymore because, as you say, it's a big, dirty mess. Help. Let's solve all those problems.
All those problems.
Can you do that?
So again, I actually love disagreement. I just want disagreement with rules. So if I put out a product and somebody says, oh, this gave me a rash. Oh my gosh, please, I would love to hear more about this. Can you give me some more information? Like, I would love that interaction. But if I put out a product and somebody's like, this is made from the blood of babies, I'm taking that post down. I think that's where we have a difference. It is okay to set rules for how you interact in a space that you are in charge of. And I think we've been pushed back on our heels with a desire to not be in a bubble or echo chamber. We're so worried about that we've gone the opposite end of the spectrum, that we let people run through our brains with their dirty feet. And I really, really believe that we need to set the example of how we interact. I appreciate this comment. Our team is going to get right back to you. So I'm not saying do not engage with disagreement. We need disagreement. Disagreement is information. I don't want you to interact with toxicity and hateful rhetoric and not reward that. And we've seen it. If you'll have 50 comments and one person says something nasty, and where does all the energy go? That's how it's designed. That's how it's built. So I think it's really important that we operate with a full understanding of how this actually works, not like the idealized kind of structure of the way we wish it worked. It's not the way it works, right? And when you calculate how much we forward things and share things that are not true, and we share things that we literally do not want to see in the world, we as individuals, and it's hard. I'm not saying this is easy at all, but the discipline to kind of check ourselves. Okay, do I not like this comment because it disagrees with something that I personally believe, and so I'm shutting down the discourse? Or is this a hateful comment? Right. And I think that's analysis that you've got to do for yourself.
Yeah, that splits it. And are you familiar with the concept of gray rock?
No.
Okay. So the idea is like people that get abused a lot, they teach them, or the therapists teach them to do something called gray rock, which is really just where, say you're in a situation where somebody's attacking you personally, like in this room or wherever. But the gray rock idea is that you would just shut down. Like you won't interact with it. You don't interact with it. You don't interact with it. So then it doesn't, make it worse. I mean, really like bubble it up. So I kind of wonder if gray rock is something we need to be thinking about online too. It's like, if you see this nasty comment, just go by it. Don't say, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 star on the wall in some place in the basement. I saw it, guys. I mean, it's there. And so, if we can just go by those things, and that's one of the things I wake up every morning, I think every one of us wakes up in the morning outraged by something. It doesn't matter which side of this aisle you're on. I know in this room, there's both. Okay. Absolutely. And so we all have this thing that happens in us that's like, oh, we're a little bit outraged by something. And I'm always thinking, what should I do? Should I stand up? Should I talk about this? Should I do this? But what I'd rather do is this, what we're doing today, which is have a conversation about how to, like an adult, deal with this stuff in our space. And then if we can do that, also how much so for our kids that are coming up behind us and watching us. My kids watch. They saw when grandma got all mad and threw a fit on, she goes, I see what my son said. I see what grandma puts on Facebook. If you hear me, I'm sorry, guys. They sometimes are watching, but they're not happy. And because we're teaching a whole nother generation how to deal with this stuff. So I don't want to be super heavy, but what do you do?
Yeah, I think I think we're really in trouble. And I know that's like I think we're really in trouble. I think we have literally moved into a post-truth reality. You used to be able to say, well, do your research, look it up. Now you can look it up and find 20 articles that say a lie.
Or both.
Or
they'll say
or
this,
both.
and you're like, which one,
Right. So this idea of how can you build across difference when you don't even have the same fact patterns? You don't even have the same foundation is really, really difficult, which is why this work and where you sit in this saga is so important, right? Truth still does matter. Feelings matter. I love feelings. I love big feelings. Big, delicious feelings are wonderful. But truth does, in fact, matter. And I think one of the things that we don't account for is when people lose a story they believe very deeply, they experience a grief. That grief can manifest as anger. And that to me is what we're living in a sense of like, I always thought it was going to be like this. And those things aren't happening. And I'm angry about that. Right. So there's a compassion that I try to find. I'm not always successful, but it's a compassion I try to find for somebody working through a loss of what they thought the world was like, or they felt like it should be. My book is called Indivisible because this is a word I literally said as a child thousands of times. I've never heard
under God,
indivisible, right? And I've never heard it really defined, and I don't even think we aspire to it, right? And that's really what I set out to do, right? And the whole idea is it is going to take an active posture for us to course correct, where we are not sending all the oxygen in the room to the most toxic person in it, or that we are committed to modeling for our children how we handle disagreement, how we talk through issues, how we do research, what a fact is, what truth is, how we can model patience in difficult conversations. These are all skills that we are losing, and they are extremely valuable. They're valuable to our survival, literally as the human race. This is not an exaggeration. Going to these presentations at TED and other scientific communities where I get to sit and hear the future of AI, the future of where we're going, if we don't figure out a way to double down on our humanity, it will be lost. So when I go into organizations, and I'm kind of like an Olivia Pope of sorts, like I go in when it has hit the fan, some big saga, some big conflict. So I get to see a lot of this. And very often if I could just turn back time a little bit, if I could get people to just pause, just slow down a little bit. Don't react instantaneously. Be thoughtful, be strategic. And you can only do that if you actually understand the game that you're playing on the field. And I think very often we really, really don't. So I have parents that ask me, like, you know, do I let my kids use devices? Do I not let them use devices? Like, there's all these questions. And I want to empower you to ask those challenge, like, what is happening here? Do I like what's happening here? And how do I react to it? How do I respond to it? Right. And when, and do I respond at all? Right. That whole thing about algorithms eat your outrage and eat your energy. So when I think about kind of like what it means to be human, disagreement is a core piece of that, right? The ability to kind of talk through problems and challenges. But I just want us to understand there's a difference between a 3D environment where we have all of this data of eye contact and body language and all that great stuff, and a 1D environment.
Like when you're in your car and you're screaming at the car in front of you.
They can't hear you. They can't hear you.
No, they can't. But I've seen some really good social media kind of memes, if you will, of people pretending like they're in their car, but they're just walking down the street and they're bumping into people and saying some of the things that they would say to people in their cars. And it's like, oh, that's really inappropriate. Like, you know it immediately how inappropriate it is. And you think, well, but have I ever done that ever? Yeah, I have. And so we're like turning people into not people. Yeah. So the other thing I was to say about brand, one of the things I'm trying to figure out is like, what do I do every day? And I'm looking in this room at a group of amazing communicators. Like, you have no idea. Like, I know you don't know them all, Denise, but some of these people, on my left here is, the global tea break. Say hi, global tea break. Amazing group of people that meet from all over the world that are here today. So I'm appreciating them. But we're all different, very different, from different cultures, different places, different ways in being. So one of the things I feel like we can do with our brands is make positive change with our brand. Like, so, what can we do with our brand? Well, like this, I can have a community and I can support all of you to make sure that you're getting the work that you need and that you're getting the education you need, or whatever it is. That's my way. What's your way? What's your way? Well, I know what your way is, but tell us.
I have so many ways.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's really important to be principled, to be clear on what you do and what you don't do. And that's as an individual, that's as a brand, that's as a community. Like, what do we do here? How do we move? How do we think about these different subjects? And, there's a lot of discussion about, like, should brands be weighing in? You're right. I think of myself as a brand, right? And so there's this pressure of, Denise, we want you to comment on every geopolitical issue that occurs. And no, I'm not an expert in every issue. I'm an expert in the issues that I'm an expert at, and I'm okay with that. Right. So there's this pressure that you've got to figure out.
You've got a platform. You need to do this.
Yeah. I like, and I don't really take that posture. I speak about what I know about, but I am principled. Right. You also don't want to blow in the wind with every conflict that happens. Like, you want to be a consistently value-centered organization.
I think even if people disagree with you, if you stay true to those values, there's some respect there, or can be. I mean, not always. I feel like right now there's just so many people that are like, you think this way, so I can never trust you again, and I hate you. There's just this sort of hate that just is floating around, mutual hate, like fests. And I want to end that. I'm not sure how to do it. I mean, I can't do it by myself. No. But that's why I'm here talking to y'all, because we need to like end this. It's not right.
Well, I don't know that we can end it. I think, if you put forth a policy that I feel like is offensive to my core values, I'm not your people. You're not my people.
But you don't have to go in hating on them onto their platform.
No, you don't have to go on there. And I don't have to allow you to, again, I believe in the vessel, but I also believe, like, I don't have to chase every single person to agree with me. My audience is not the entire world. My people are my people, right? I do a lot of work in DEI. I don't go to Klan rallies trying to convince them, please come to my position. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that we also need to be comfortable with people being uncomfortable. This is what we're doing. Maybe we made a policy that you don't like. but this is what we're doing. I'm sorry if you disagree, but this is what we're doing. And it's okay if there's a group of people who don't like that. And I think sometimes we bend so much because we're trying to capture every audience instead of being that we compromise our actual community, our actual charter of what we're here to do.
I just read a book. I think it was like the courage to not be liked. It's Adlerian philosophy, but part of what it says is that, you know, most conflicts are interpersonal conflicts. I'm like, yeah, I mean, all conflicts, it says, are interpersonal conflicts, and that community is the way out. And understanding that when your point of view is not liked, you can have a conversation with somebody. That's okay if they don't like you. You know what I'm saying? And so, of course, that requires two to tango. But
and also, everybody's at a different point in their journey, right? We talk like everyone. Like I see inclusion, for example, on a continuum from 0 to 10. 10 being, you know, the folks that read all the books, do all the things, they got it all figured out, and 0, and they don't even know what the letters DEI stand for, right? So there's that continuum. And we really want to talk like everybody's in the 7, 8, 9, 10, and they're not. Most people are in the 4, 5, 6, and way more people are in the 1, 2 than we want to admit. And so at any given moment, if you are a brand that is interacting with the world, you have that whole spectrum in your audience plane. And you're just not going to make every single person happy, but you can treat every person with respect and dignity, and you can create a place where you can have discourse, but you're just never going to make everyone happy, right? You have to stay true to the principles that you hold dear and value, and that should come out in every decision that you make and every communication that you make. So that's why I always say, slow down a minute. Who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? I think post-COVID, I feel like everybody's kind of walking around with this weird malaise. We kind of all went back to quote unquote normal. And there's this, people don't show up for gatherings anymore. I was really like, it's been so hard to do community, like maintain community, because people are like, can you compete with my, you know, pajamas, my Snuggie, and Netflix?
Thank you for being here, guys.
Right? Like,
Thank you so much.
It's really hard. Yeah. So I really want to give you a lot of, actually, can we give her a round of applause for maintaining this and keeping this going? It's really, really challenging to keep community going because people are fried. It's like we're walking around like a human, like tuning fork. And energetically it's draining. People are dry. They snap quicker. They're less likely to commit to community gatherings. Like, that's the reality of the sea that we're swimming in. So we have to be more thoughtful. We have to be more careful and more intentional.
I think that's so great. I have a lot of allergies. I don't know. I was sneezing this morning, all the pollen, but my allergist explained it to me. It's like a cup. I wish I had a cup here to show you, of water. So if somebody has their cup of water, and as you have all of this pollen, it builds up, it builds up, it builds up. It's like the water cup getting full to the top. And then a drop goes in, and at some point it starts to flow over. Right. And I think that's really what's going on with Outrage too. Like, you know, the cup. And then whoosh, you know, one drop gets it over. And one of the, actually our marriage counselor, I'm 23 years married as of April, but told us this, and I never will forget it. He said, if there is a 1 offense, but somebody's behaving like it's a 7 offense, there's something else in there. Yeah. The cup is too full. So if we're going off on 1 offenses in our own brain, so I think self-monitoring is really important here. And if you need help, go get it. If you need somebody to talk to them, talk to your pastor, talk to your counselor, talk to whoever it is out there that you need to talk to get down lower in your cup.
Yes. Yeah. I think there's no more important skill right now than self-regulation. And that is particularly valuable for every single person in this room and the work that you do. If you bring the hot energy, if you come in hot to every conflict, you're not going to be effective, right? Can you slow down? Grandma used to say, taste it first before you say it, before you respond. Like, what is this triggering in my body? And also, like, I would go a step further of what you just said. Are you listening? Sometimes somebody's coming at a 7, but you think it's only a 1 because you don't understand. Right? So are you listening? Are you really listening? Why is this person so upset about this? Why is this hitting this thing? That's why where you sit is so important, because you get to see and hear the first little clues of what a challenge may be or a problem may be. And I'm really tapping into, when I coach leaders, C-suite leaders, I say, are you really tapping into these social media teams? Like, who's on the front line speaking for your organization, responding for your organization, and who is listening?
Yeah.
Listening. If I did a speech years ago and I used the term Eskimo. I was making the point that the Eskimos have 52 words for the word snow, because snow is important if you live in a frozen tundra, right? And we only have one word for racism. I was making that point, and somebody wrote me and said, oh, really? The term Eskimo is offensive to them. Like, that's not what they name themselves. They're Inuits. Like, just call them who they are. They're Inuits. So I just changed it, and I now could say Inuit. Like, it didn't cost me anything to listen deeply and to make a change, right? So as much as we talk about this role as a talking role, as a responding role, I just want to turn up the points that we give to it as a listening role. Yeah. Make sure you understand when somebody comes in with hurt, pain, frustration, disappointment over a decision you made. Make sure you understand it. That doesn't mean you have to agree. That doesn't mean you have to change everything, but you have to learn how to deeply listen. We are a nation of difference. And like I always say, if you say you love America, you're going to have to work a little harder to love Americans. And what love looks like is listening to them and hearing when there is a disagreement or a conflict, and really taking that back and putting it into your calculus. And if you can make one small change that helps to address that, that's amazing. But you're not going to get that if it's reactionary and too fast and knee jerk, and you're not really paying attention.
Well, you've wasted that opportunity, right? So that's amazing. We only have a few more minutes left, which is crazy. We've like blown through this, but I do want to open it up. Is there any questions that you might have about that you want to ask Denise? I know this is very deep. You guys like, yes.
I like the way you put up your hand, like. Hi.
Well, first of all, I want to say you ladies were amazing. This message today was definitely on point with everything that's going on. Being in the trenches, I understand. So kudos to you. And really the question is, what do we do? What do we do next? What's the first thing we do when we leave the room?
Go touch some grass.
Come on.
Remember what's real. This is not real. This is full of dark money. It's full of bad actors. This isn't a dinner party you're having in your house. It isn't. And we don't be really careful that we keep trying to bring the same rules to this space. So what I need for you, because like I said, you are soldiers on the front line. Maybe you didn't realize that. If you didn't, you heard it from here first. I need you to touch some grass, get hydrated, get some good sleep, like, eat some tacos, walk around the block. Like, really, self-regulation is the most valuable skill you can have in this environment, that nobody can push your buttons. You fight fire with water. You are a de-escalator, not a reactor. And I think you have to be really committed to self-care and self-awareness to be able to be effective in these roles. And then have the dinner party. That's the second thing. Real people getting together for a social media breakfast, having people in your home, like talking to people. We're literally doing an avatar to avatar conversation. Like, we forgot what it is to disagree with somebody in person and what the rules are and how you would conduct yourself, right? So I think this idea of community, it sounds cliche, it sounds trite, but it is the only tool that we have to counteract these forces. Real people, real conversations, real interactions, and deep listening.
And one more, Jen.
See, you said it again. You said fight fire with water.
Yeah.
Fire hates water. I've been in this situation where I'm managing social media, and I go and try to de-escalate the situation with warmth and care and love and listening, and that flares it up even more. What do we do in those situations? Like, what's the communication style that is effective water, is the stuff that comes out of the fire hose? Like, how do you communicate in a way that really truly de-escalates without offending or upsetting in these situations?
Maybe you don't. And I think that's a really important thing for you to accept, right? And our egos tell us, I am such a great communicator. Have you heard me on stage? I am, right? Like, I'm amazing. I can handle this. No, you can't. You can't handle the bot farm in a foreign country with 1,000. You cannot. So there's a realization, a deep realization that I want you to operate in a space with, of like, I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to put the best effort forth that I can, but I am not a superhero. I'm going to just try as hard as I can to make this happen. So not triggering, right? Not even sometimes when it's a real person, I'll say something like, I'd love to take this conversation offline. Here's my, I'm going to DM you my contact info, right? And that to me is a good indicator. If you're really upset and you're raising a concern, and I offer to talk to you in a way that really could raise that concern, and you don't take that, then I doubt your real commitment to this issue. You just want to throw a bag of garbage in my vessel. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I think there's these places that you can test the person that you're in a relationship with. It's a relationship. We're having a conversation. So if we're not having one, I'm not going to be the only one having one. Right? You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to have a set of rules that I don't require you to have those same rules. And there are sometimes, like I said, I don't even interact at all. Right? Because it's like, is this a concern in good faith? Is it presented? And I'm teaching people how to interact with me in an ongoing way. And I get a lot. And I really try to really answer. I get a lot of hate mail. I get a lot of threats. Okay. And so, like, I'm not going to like try to smooth you out as you're threatening to come to my house. And like, no, that's not what we're doing. So I think this idea of positioning yourself in reality of what is, again, understanding the game that's on the field and making sure you're playing the real game, not the game that's in your head. This is not Sunday school. These are not all nice, fine, good people, right? So once you get that, and then you step into the space with the best of intentions, you try your hardest, to offer a solution, to offer to escalate the concern, and to apologize when necessary. I don't know that you have to fix everything and change everything. I know that you need to try the best you can.
I love that so much. And one of the things that early in my career I called it or came up with is there are these people that are determined detractors. And now they're like paid determined detractors, or people that are not even real people, their phones on a wall. I want you to keep that in your mind anytime you're in these conversations. Just imagine all the comments underneath any kind of interaction as a bunch of phones on the wall somewhere in like India, Bangladesh, China, somewhere like that, because that is the truth. That's what's happening out there. So I don't want any of us to not understand that, to believe that that's real, what's happening out there. So I so appreciate you, Denise, coming here and like just, could you guys give her a huge hand for being here, please? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so Thank you so much. I know it's a really heavy morning. Okay, so like a little bit of fun. Like let's get up and dance around a little bit. Maybe Brittany can come in. We can do a dance afterwards. She's great at leading the dances, so we can get them on TikTok. But what I do want you to do is open up your phones right now and make sure that you're following all of the sponsors today and all of the social media breakfast. Denise, follow her. Buy her book, read her book, listen to her book, be challenged by her book. It's a great book. Really did challenge me. And what I loved most about it was exactly what she brought today, which is like balance, which unfortunately we don't have much of in this world right now. So I really appreciate that about you, but being serious about that balance. So, what does that mean for us today? And next month, we are going to have Sarah Lloyd. She's coming all the way in from San Antonio from Social News Desk, which is a kind of a, Hootsuite, whatever, for journalists and educators and so on. So she sees all of these different platforms, what's going on all the different platforms. So Sarah's going to come and talk to us about the changes that you need to understand about social media right now, what you need to be understanding, and how journalists and other kinds of people are using social media right now, where they're going, what's going on with that. I think right now that's another area in our world right now that's a little bit challenging is journalism. Like, what is it? Where is it at? And so that's going to be really interesting, I think. And Sarah's coming all the way from San Antonio, so please come. She's making the trip and on the dime of Social News Desk. So thank you, Social News Desk, for being the sponsor of our speaker next time. And then after that, we're going to have Kenya Kelly. She's going to be coming. If you know her, she's amazing. She does TikTok a lot. She does teaches people how to use TikTok properly and builds community with these tools. So she's going to be talking about community, a little bit about TikTok, where we're at that point, who knows? But also she does Instagram as well. Just the idea of community building. We have a lot of stuff lined up over the next couple of months. Keep in touch with us. We're at smbhou.com. We send out an email every month to tell you what's coming up next. So please get on the email list. I have those on the table, so scan them. And I really appreciate y'all being here. Thank you so much, Denise. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for all that you do, and know how important you are, how important your work is. If nobody told you today, it is you are the front line, and I appreciate the spot that you're in and the task that is often put before you in terms of dealing with all of these messages. And just go touch some grass. Have an amazing day.
Thank you, guys. We need it.